We are on Daf Hey Aleph, and we're 6 lines from the bottom of Omar. This sugya started about 4 lines down in the wide lines, where the Gemorah quoted the Mishnah on this page, which told us that Purim, we read the Megilah earlier when Purim falls on, for instance, Shabbos. So we read it on Friday. Okay. But there are certain things that we don't do early, we do it later. And the Mishnah mentions Man Atzei HaKohanim, the time that the Kohanim used to bring wood for the Mizbeach, and on Tisha B'Av, we also don't make it early, we make it later. The Carbon Chagiga, we make it later. And all of these things we make later, but not earlier. Okay, now, the Gemara asks, why don't we make Tisha B'Av the day before, if it comes on Shabbos, fast on Friday? So the Gemara answered, because you don't make Peronius earlier before they come. Wasn't the time. The Chagiga and the Hakel is which we read the Sefer Torah by the king on the platform once every 7 years after Shemitah on Shmini Atzeres. And that Hakel also we push off if it falls on Shabbos, because the time had not yet come. The Gemara then quoted a brisa which said that not only the Carbon Chagiga has to be later if the Chagiga falls on Shabbos, that means if Yom Tov falls on Shabbos, but also the Zman Chagiga has to be later. So the Gemara analyzed this and said, I understand the Chagiga has to be later because if it falls on Shabbos, we push it off to after Shabbos because you can't bring the Chagiga on Shabbos. Why not? We'll see later. But the Zman Chagiga, what does that refer to? So Rav Oshia said, this is what he meant to say. If Chagiga falls on Shabbos, and you not only have to bring a Karma Chagiga, but because it's the Yom Tov, and every Yom Tov you have to have an Olas Re'iyah, in addition to the Karma Chagiga that you bring on Yom Tov, you have to bring an Olas Re'iyah. So these things, even if it's Yom Tov, when it's the Zman, you push it off. And this goes like Beis Shammai, who holds that you can only bring a Shlomim on Yom Tov, and the reason you can only bring a Shlomim is because a Shlomim is Ochel Nefesh, and you can slaughter a Shlomim and burn it on Yom Tov because it's going to be eaten by people. Right. But an Ola, you can't bring. What about Smicha? What's about? Chagig Shlomim. Oh, so because Beis Shammai holds that you can't do smicha on Yom Tov, all right? So even though you'd be allowed to shecht it, but Beis Shammai holds that the smicha has to be techev the smicha shchita, and therefore the smicha must be done on Yom Tov. But Beis Hillel doesn't hold like that. Okay, we're going to see, right? But Beis Hillel omrim, and this is where we ended off last week, Mevi and Shlomim ve'olos. You can bring both the Shlomim and an Ola and the Som Chalem. What does Beis Hillel do with the fact that it's not Ochel Nefesh? How do you bring an Ola, right? So he says, because when the Pasuk says, Ach asher yachel l'chol nefesh hu levado yeyoseh lochem means, but not for Goyim. But anything that's good for Jewish people, if they're doing a mitzvah, they can do smicha even on Yom Tov. So therefore, on Shabbos, even when the Chagiga falls on Shabbos and Yom Tov, right? Okay, yeah. According to Beis Hillel, yeah. According to Beis Hillel, right? Okay. Beis Hillel says you can bring Shlomim and Olos do smicha because a mitzvah, and the pasuk lachem is only referring to the goyim. Okay, now that's the first answer as to why the Chagiga is pushed off, according to Beis Shammai. Rava Omar, now Rava is going to come with a different answer. He says, Chagiga calls man Chagiga ma'achrin tfeilo, that Chagiga is allowed to be pushed off as long as the Chagiga is still applicable. But more than that, not. What does that mean? That none, he quotes the Mishnah in Chagiga, Mi shelo chog b'yom tov rishon shel chag. Anyone who didn't bring the carbon chagiga on the first day of the Yom Tov, whatever Yom Tov that is, Pesach, Shavuos, or Sukkot, if you didn't bring it on the first day of Yom Tov, and you didn't bring it because maybe you held like Beishamai, all right? Chogeg v'holech es kol haregel kulo, you can make the chagiga anytime during that whole Yom Tov, and Sukkot and so on, and including with the last day of Yom Tov of the Chag of Sukkot. You can have it all that time. But of our regular v'lo chog, if the entire Yom Tov went by and you didn't bring the carbon chagiga, eino chayav b'achar yuso. You don't bring it from that point on at all. You don't bring it. It's too of us karbano. You can't bring the chagiga. So David's asking the question. David Beck is asking the question. Is asking the question. What about Shavuos? Right. Okay, that's a good kasha. But you know that we don't say Tachanun until a week after, because you have Tashlum in a week. It's very interesting. We're going to stop right there for a moment. I want to read you something unbelievable. This is really an unbelievable thing, which was pointed out to me in the Rambam. The Rambam in the back of Ava, the Sefer Ava, which talks about it starts with Hilchos Deos and Hilchos Brachos. Ava means love.
Oh yeah,
Ava means love.
No, it said Sefer.
Sefer Ava, he calls it. You take a look at the Rambam. It says here Mada and Ahava.
Oh.
The Mada is Jewish philosophy, thinking, and Ahava is love, referring to certain mitzvahs. Mada meaning Hilchos Tshuva, Hilchos Deos, right, and so on. And when it comes to Ahava, it's talking about mitzvahs that we do out of love, like davening and so on. So the Rambam has in the back of Sefer Ahava, he has he has a sefer called davening. What's the order of davening? How do we the nusach of davening? What do we do? How do you have? What's the nusach? What's the nusach of Shemona Esrei? And so on. What's the nusach? So he has here an entire discussion. It's called Seder Tfilas Kol Hashana. It's right in back of Sefer Ahava. It's called Seder Tfilas Kol Hashana. The Seder of all the davening of all year long. And he has all the things listed here. He has here and so on and so forth and so forth and so on. And then there's a line here that is startling, because this is on page 152 in this siddur that he has. This is what he says. He says, "Uvecholo shel moed," and on chol moed, Omer b'yom mikra kodesh hazeh, b'yom moed, on the chol moed, chag hamatzos hazeh, or b'yom moed, or on the day of Chol HaMoed, Chag HaShavuos Hazeh. Wait a minute. Oh, b'yom Moed Chag HaSukkos Hazeh. Okay, where do you get Shavuos here? Right. There's no Chol HaMoed in Shavuos. What the Rambam mix in over here? Chol HaMoed Pesach, Chol HaMoed Shavuos, Chol HaMoed Sukkos. So all the Mefarshim want to come along and say there are two possibilities here. Possibility number one, there's a mistake, but nobody likes that. Rambam wasn't one to make such a flippant error. Others say, no, the Rambam was letting us know that the days of Tashlumin, of the carbon chagiga of Shavuos, is just as acceptable a week after, and it's almost like those are days of Chol HaMoed of Shavuos. That's what he meant to say, because that's what it says over here in the end of Sefer Ahava. You want to look it up? It's at the end of Sefer Ahava on page 152. Over here in the first chapter of the Rambam. So you can look that up. Anyway, but that takes us now to a second explanation of what it meant when the Brisa said Chagiga and calls man Chagiga. Okay, that's the second explanation. Okay, and now Rav Ashi Omar, the third explanation of what does Chagiga and calls man Chagiga mean? Chagiga v'cholz man Chagiga ma'achrin. We can push it off. Va'afilu atzeres dechad yoma ma'achrin. Even Shavuos, which is only one day, you can push it off. Ditnan, because we have a Mishnah which tells us Modim Beishamei and Beisila Luel Machlokes about whether or not you could do smicha on Yontiv. Agree she'im chol atzeres lios b'Shabbos, that if Shavuos falls on Shabbos, sheyom tavuach, and Yom Tavuach, of course, over here means the day on which you make the karbanos of Chagiga and Re'iyah. Achar Shabbos is done after Shabbos. Oh, so in other words, after Shavuos, everybody agrees it's after Shavuos. And we hold that there's Tashlum in Zayin Yomim, and therefore, well, we have to look it up. We already spoke it out. But in Shulchan Aruch, it brings down. At many of a minute, they don't say Tachanan until after 7 days after the first day of the Yom Tov of Shavuos. Okay? Okay. Rashi over here, before we go any further. It's in the Rashi where it says, we left off, then the wide lines of Rashi, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lines down in the wide lines, about the seventh word. Akati lo mota chiyuva, right? Yeah. You can't make Tisha B'Av on Friday. The chiyuv not come yet. V'im yakdimu lo yotzi yedei chavasa. You wouldn't fulfill your responsibility. V'chein atzi akanim shekavu en zman kavua. They have a set time. V'afilu hachi ma'achrin olas re'iyah at chol hamoed. When it comes to the olas re'iyah, you push it off until the chol hamoed. V'hachi mashma. Listen to the brisa. And this is what it meant when it said in the Brisa. What? I skipped the line? Yeah. Oh, why did I do that? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Okay, good. Bishlam Chagiga, Diktani Ma'achrin. When it comes to Chagiga, I understand you tell me if it falls on Shabbos, but what does it mean by Zman Chagiga? Afilu b'Yom Tov, the Zman Chagiga, who even if it's Yom Tov and it is the Zman Chagiga, Shemut lahakol Shalmei Chagiga, you're allowed to bring Shlomim of Chagiga. V'afilu achim achrin olas re'iyah at Chol HaMoed, but the Ola we don't bring on Yom Tov, only on Chol HaMoed. Listen to the Brisa, Chagiga Ma'achrin. That the Brisa said the Chagiga you push off to later. That are Ma'achrin also. Yom, we push it off a day. Afshus Man Chagiga, Ve'ezozu. And what's that? Olas Re'iyah, the Ola of appearing at the base of Megilah. Shehi Chovas Regel. It's the requirement of the Yom Tov. K'diksiv Lo Yero Panai. And we have a statement at the beginning of Mesechta Chagiga, Lo Yiru Panai Reikam, but Olos Uzvacham Afilu Achi. Nevertheless, B'Yom Tov Lo Kover, we don't bring it on Yom Tov. Beis Shammai, and that goes according to Beis Shammai. The Omar Ein Makriven B'Yom Tov Ola Hayacholes Lovo Machar V'Afilu Hichovas Ha Regel, and even it's a Chovas Ha Regel. Okay, now. Then we learn Mevi Shlamim B'Yom Tov. Why? Why does they hold you can bring Shlamim on Yom Tov? Shein Hakal Adam B'Yom Tov Uksiv Achashe Yachel Chol Nefesh. However, the Ein Somchan Aleim, because next line Beis Shammai holds Shasmicha Shavusi Detnan Elohein Mishum Shavus Lo Rochin Al Gabe Behema, right? Va'al Elu Sheyiklu B'Yom Tov Yismechu Me'esma. Yeah, but you don't have to do the smicha inside the mikdash. Yeah. Yismuchi me'esmo. The less the Beis Shammai take the smicha shita. There's a shas whether or not the smicha has to be immediately before the shechita. And Beis Shammai holds you don't have to have it. So you can do it the day before. Okay. Avalo olos, but not the carbon olos. Why not? Ein meviyin. What are you saying, David?
Why does the Shammai not allow us to do it?
Because it's much mishtamesh b'val chai, and you're not going to use it because it's not shita you're allowed of a carbon, right? But you can't do smicha because mishtamesh b'val chai. It's the rabbanon, right? So you can't do the smicha. The smicha must be right before the shechita, right? So they don't allow because it's not lachem. Wait a minute. You shouldn't say it. It's on Yontif it's lachem, right? It's Yontif it's lachem. But on Shabbos it's on Shabbos on Shabbos, right? So when did you do the smicha? You can't do it on Shabbos, right? So you have to do it Friday. But you can't do it Friday because you need to take a smicha shchita. Oh, that's why you can't bring it on Yom Tov. Okay, the Savri, because they hold lachem. It says lachem, but not from a carbon. You can't do smicha with a carbon. Ubesil omrim mevi'in shlom v'olos umani mekayim lachem means lachem v'lo l'gnochem for you and not for goyim. Then we said kol zman chagiga. What's kol zman chagiga? Says Rashi. You can wait until after the Yom Tov. And Ravashi Amar Chagiga means calls man shenemru bo Chagiga ma'achrin in Boro b'Shabbos. Vafilu atzeres even Shavuos she'ein el yom echad tashlumin yesh la kol shiva. You can make the tashlumin the entire week after Shavuos. Va'adayin yesh la zman kivu. Okay. And Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel modim ba'atzeres shechol yos b'Shabbos Mesechta Chagiga. Nechleku ba'atzeres shechol yos b'erev Shabbos. The machlokes about Shavuos that comes like this year on Friday. Beis Shammai omrim Yom Tovur shel Aseres achar Shabbos. They hold that the day of the karbanos of Shavuos, which includes the Chagiga and the Olas Re'iyah, and you can't bring Olos on Yom Tov because it's not Ochel Nefesh. Beis Shammai Tamayu, the Ami Olos ain't makriim b'Yom Tov. You can't bring it all on Yom Tov. Hilkach le'akrivu ad la'achar Shabbos. Ubeis Hillel omrim ein lo Yom Tavuach. Ein lo Yom Tavuach means ein sarach lahantin liyom Tavuach shashlomim va'olos krevim b'Yom Tov. Because Beis Hillel holds you can bring shlomim and olos on Yom Tov because when it says asher yechel l'chol nefesh u'levado yasalachem refers only to you and not to goyim, but this is for you too. Umodim ba'atzeres shechol yos b'Shabbos she'ein olas re'iyah v'shalom chagiga great b'Shabbos umantil yom tavur shalabana machar haShabbos alma yesh tafum la'atzeres. Oh, so we see that there is a payback day for Shavuos, which is after the Shabbos. Okay, so those are the three answers that we gave to the question of what does it mean when it says that the Chagiga and Kol Zman Chagiga. Okay. Friday, Thursday night, you mean? It's Thursday night, Friday. Yeah, so what's wrong with that? What is he what?
It says molding, right? Molding. You're saying that they agree. But
If Shabbos.
But they still would say you can't bring it on Shabbos.
Right. Right.
Why?
Because what? No. The question of Basil is, can you bring the carbon chagiga even on Yom Tov? Beis Shammai says you can only bring chagiga shlomim, but not the ola, right? And Beis Hillel says not only can you bring the shlamim, you can even bring the ola on Yom Tov. What's the machlokes? Because an ola is not ochel nefesh. But Beis Hillel says no. The lashon of lachem means lachem v'lo l'nachrim, and for you the carbon ola is working for you on Yom Tov. You're allowed to slaughter the carbon ola on Yom Tov. Beis Shammai says you can't slaughter the carbon ola on Yom Tov, any of it. So on a regular Yom Tov, Beis Shammai says on Thursday, Wednesday, Tuesday, you can't bring the carbon chagiga. You can't bring the carbon ola. Right, you can't bring the carbon ola. And you can't bring the chagiga because you can't do smicha on Yom Tov. Beis Hillel says you can bring the chagiga on Yom Tov and you can bring the ola on Yom Tov. It's not l'chol nefesh. Yeah, lachem doesn't mean for you and not the carbon. It means for you and not for goyim. And this is for you. And therefore you can bring it on Yom Tov. They both agree on Shabbos that you can't bring it. You can't bring it on Shabbos. You have to wait till Sunday. Because why? Because it's pushed off to the day after Shabbos. You don't have to bring it on Shabbos. What are you being Megilah Shabbos for? To slaughter the animal. It doesn't have to be brought that day. Yeah, but it's not Doche to Shabbos. You can't do, just because it's Shavuos on Yom Tov doesn't mean you can do malacha of cooking on Shavuos when it falls on Shabbos. You can't do the malachas of Yom Tov when Yom Tov falls on Shabbos. Yeah, but the carbon doesn't have to be brought that day. It's not something that's over Azman Batal Karbana. When it's something that must be brought that day, so then it's brought on Shabbos. But this doesn't have to be brought on Shabbos because you have a whole week tashlumit to pay it later. So therefore, Beis Hillel says you don't bring it on Shabbos, which will on Yom Tov, which was Shabbos.
You can bring on Shabbos.
Yeah, but not Chagig is not a carbon. No, that's because that's the Gzeras HaKosa. It's Gzeras HaKosa. But the Chagiga, you can bring it after. So since you can bring it after, you don't bring it on Shabbos. Right? So Modim, Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel agree that when Yom Tov falls on Shabbos, we don't bring the carbon Chagiga. Okay, right. Okay. Yom Tavuach means both the Chagiga and the Ola get pushed off till after Shabbos. Okay. Amar Rebbe Elazar, Amar Hanina. Now, a lot comes, Rebbe Elazar coming along and making a statement in the name of Rebbe Hanina. Rebbe Yehuda Nasi, Nota Netiya Bepurim. He planted something on Purim. He planted something on Purim. Okay. We turn to Daf. V'rochatz b'krono shel tzipori b'shiva asa b'tamis. And he took a bath, or a shower, a bath, in the krona of tzipori. We'll see what the if you look on the left,
it says market day.
If you look on the left, you see over here. He says in the Soros Hashas, Perish Mayim Novim Vikarim, that there were cold waters coming down in the city of Tzipori, and he took in this public place. If you look at the Rashi on the top left, Bekrona Shel Tzipori B'Yom Hashuk B'Farhesya B'Shas Hilach Kronos, when the Kronos, the carriages, were bringing goods back and forth in the public shuk, and there was a bathhouse. And in the public bathhouse, Rebbe went and took a bath on Shiva Asa B'Tamis. What's the big Kiddush?
What's wrong with the here on Purim?
What's wrong with planting on Purim? And what about taking a shower on Shiva Asa B'Tamis? All right. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see some discussion on this. Okay, good. Ubikesh, next, third thing. Ubikesh lakar Tisha B'Av. And he wanted to get rid of Tisha B'Av. Everybody's joining on Rebbe's bandwagon. He wanted to get rid of Tisha B'Av, v'lo hodulo. But the Chachamim did not agree with him. Okay? They didn't agree with him.
Is that the second base?
Rebbe Yudahashi was after the second base in English. He wanted to get rid of Tisha B'Av. Okay? V'lo hodulo. Okay. I mean, before we go any further, okay, let's take a look in the halacha of Tisha B'Av. If you look at Siman Taf Kuf Vav, Siman Taf Kuf Vav. No, this is a mistake. Taf Kuf Vav. I wrote Taf Kuf Vav. That's a mistake. It's not Taf Kuf Vav. It's Taf Kuf Nun. No wonder. Taf Kuf Nun. The Nun a little short. Taf Kuf Nun. He brings down like this. And talking about Hilchos Tisha B'Av, talking about the difference between the first days of fast and the other days of fast. So it says, everybody has to fast these 4 fast days, which refer to Shivas B'Tamas and so on and so forth and so forth. All right.
I didn't know you were allowed to take a shower.
Now, then he says in Sif Beis, Somos Halolu, the other fast days, Shivas B'Tamas, Titus Esther, Tzom Gedaliah, right? And I'm sorry, days. Chutz mi Tisha B'Av, except for Tisha B'Av, Mutarin Berechitza, V'Sicha Ulilas Asana V'Tashmat Shemitah. All these other days, you don't have to do all the 5 Inuyim.
Oh, yeah.
Only on Tisha B'Av. The Mishnah Boro on the bottom brings down in Sif Katan Vav. That's what the Vav was. In Sif Katan Vav, he says Mutarin Berechitza. Why? Why are these other days permitted to do washing and so on, and Tisha B'Av not? So, if you remember, we had a discussion just the other week that the Tanesim are dependent on whether or not the Chachamim accepted upon themselves the din of Tainus, Sibur, in all the Inu Yamanat. When they accepted it, then we have to do it. If they didn't accept it, we don't have to do it. And we learned in the Gemorah that Hayom, today, all of Klal Yisrael over all the last centuries have fully accepted all the Inuyim on Tisha B'Av. The Mishnah Boro brings down the Bishosh Sherotzu v'Kiblu Aleim Latzom B'Chol Arba Taniyos Hanal, because when they accepted upon themselves these fast days, Lo Kiblu Aleim Sheyiyu B'Chomer Tainus Tzibur Kamo Tisha B'Av. They did not take upon themselves that these other fast days are like Tisha B'Av. Why? And it's a strange reason that he brings down. Watch this. But people can't do it. Yeah. Since when did that become a criteria? Right. They can't do it. What do you mean they can't do it? They sure can do it. Oh, but the Chazal felt they're not going to make that takana. Next step. However, ubal nefesh yachmir. Whoa. But someone who is a Baal Nefesh can be machmir on all of these days. So here is where you have to come to the point of machmir, nish machdir.
On you, not
okay. If you want to accept upon yourself to be strict because you want to be a Baal Nefesh, kol hakavod. But don't go around saying that this is what everybody should do. You should all be a Baal Nefesh. Not required in this case. But here you see that in the Gemorah, Rebbe himself in public went and took a shower. Was he a Baal Nefesh? Yes, Rebbe was a Baal Nefesh, but maybe in these circumstances, he wanted to let everybody know that La Halacha, that's not the rule. Okay, let's go further. Let's see more, because we have a little Tosfos here. That's very interesting. We'll see. Okay, let's go a little further. Amar Lafana Rebbe Abba Bar Zavda. Rebbe Lo, not so what you just reported. Not so. What? Ella Tisha B'Av Shechali Yos B'Shabbos Hava. That was a Tisha B'Av that fell on Shabbos. V'dachinu l'achar HaShabbos. And it was pushed off until Sunday. V'Omar Rebbe. And Rebbe held, Hol v'nidche yidche. Rebbe had a shita that really Tisha B'Av should be on Shabbos, but it can't be on Shabbos, so we're pushing it off. Once, even the nidche yidche, once something is pushed off already, forget about it. That's it. He held, you don't gotta have Tisha B'Av. You wouldn't have to fast, right? But the Chachamim did not agree with that. Kari Olei, they applied in the case of Rebbe and the Chachamim, Tov Masnayim in Echad, better two than one. Rebbe was outvoted by the majority. Now, Tosfos raises a fascinating question over here.
Which Tosfos?
The second Tosfos in the top.
BK?
Okay, we can learn the other one also. We'll come to it, but this one is very crucial. Okay. He wanted to uproot Tisha B'Av, but they didn't admit it to him. They didn't allow it. So Tosfos says, Kasha, I don't understand this. How could it even enter your mind? The Haitana, the Rebbe, wrote Salakar Tisha B'Av Legami. How could you possibly say that Rebbe wanted to get rid of Tisha B'Av in total? We have a rule in the Gemorah and Tainus called Ochel V'Shoseh B'Tisha B'Av Eino Roa B'Nechama Shal Yerushalayim. It's an open statement in the Gemorah that you can't eat on Tisha B'Av, and if you do, you're never gonna see the Nechama of Yerushalayim. How could Rebbe possibly say, I want to get rid of Tisha B'Av? V'od, not only that, do ein bezdin yochol levatal divei bezdin chaveiro ela ein ken gadol imenu b'chag v'minyan. Who made Tisha B'Av? It was made by the Nevi'im. It's brought down in all the Nevi'im. Soma Chi, Soma Ravi, and so on and so forth. How can you possibly get rid of something that's a scripture? Rebbe can't knock it off. A number of issues. So the Tosfos answers like this. Number one, V'yesh lomar delo ratza la'okro. No, Rebbe didn't want to get rid of Tisha B'Av. Ella michumras sheyesh bo yosef b'shar ta'niyos. Rebbe didn't want to get rid of Tisha B'Av. You can't get rid of Tisha B'Av. But he wanted to make it that any of the 5 inuyim that we do on Tisha B'Av should be no different than on a regular fast day, and get rid of the Chamishas inuyim. That's all. That's one teretz. Inami, a second teretz. Yesh lomar, the Ratza la'akramachi l'kol ba'asiri. Rebbe wanted to make Tisha B'Av should fall on the 10th of Av. Why? Like Rabbi Yochanan said in the Gemara in Tainus, Ilu havai hasam, if I was there, kivate ba'asiri, I would have set up that Tisha B'Av should be on the 10th of Av. Why? Because it burned the entire, to the mid till Chatzos of the 10th.
Yeah, but not whole day, but not to burn the whole day.
No, it started on the 9th, at the end of the 9th.
Oh, the end of the night?
It started after Chatzos on the 9th. And it burned, it started on the 9th. And it burned the whole rest of the day, and then the whole 10th, till the Chatzos. So the main destruction, according to Rabbi Yochanan, was on the 10th. So Rebbe wanted to agree with Rabbi Yochanan, but not Chas v'Shalom to get rid of Tisha B'Av. He couldn't do that. And that's the way Tosfos explains this particular idea. And therefore, it says, that he tried to get rid of. Let's just learn the top Tosfos very quickly. Right? Now, this means in the public place, Lav Daka Bekrona, El Kolomar, It doesn't mean in the where the wagons were. Tomar. And you're going to ask like this. My irya lichos. Afilu lechol nami mutter. Because the Nama Rosh Hashanah ain't Sarah, ain't Shalom. Ratzu misanim, lo ratzu, lo ain't misanim. This is what we discussed before. There is a Gemorah that says in Rosh Hashanah, if the Chazal decide to fast, then it's a fast day. If Chazal decide not to fast, it's not a fast day. Because Tisha B'Av is only when there's tremendous tsaros. But when you're in peace and there's no tsaros, there's no point in fasting and bringing up bad tidings. So the Tosfos answers, Yesh Lomar, the Kivan the Kiblu, Kvar Avosenu, Al Atzman, Mistama Gam Hein Kibluha. It must be that Rebbe and all of the Chevra and everybody throughout the history of the Jewish people have totally accepted the concept of Tisha B'Av and the Chamisha Inuyim of Tisha B'Av, and therefore he's outvoted by the Chachamim, and we go Achayradim Lahatos, and everybody decided, and that is the way we paskin to this day. And even on the other days, you want to be Machmir, you be Machmir. You can't tell anybody else to go and be Machmir. We'll stop over here. Okay.
Rabbi, where are we up to?
Rebbe Heichi Nota Natiyah.
Okay.
And that's a very important question. What was the problem with planting on Purim? That was something that was already asked by.
We should do extra work.
There's something why you can't do on Purim. Why? We'll see. We'll see why. We'll see. Rabbi Chananya ben Akashya Omer. Ratzah Kodesh Baruch Hu Zakon says. Levika Chilvan Torah Mitzvah Shnema. And Rechav Eitzaman said, "Go Yagdil Torah v'Yadir."
Amen.
Amen.
Questions you ask.
Amen.
Amen. Amen.
Thank you, Rabbi. Have a great week.